When I was about 9 or 10, something of that ilk, it did something at school because everybody else at school was doing it. And my mum was like, why did you do that? And I said, I couldn't help myself. Everybody else was doing it. I had to go along with it. If they all jumped off the cliff, she said, would you jump off a cliff? And then I kind of thought, do you know what? I would not jump off that cliff. And from that point, peer pressure never really worked on me too much. People were like, oh, you try smoking. Try some of this crack. Yeah, it was a rough sort of school where I grew up. And I just couldn't be bothered with it. I just wasn't interested. So I didn't try any of it. Peer pressure no longer worked because of my dear old mother's wise words. However, everybody else was watching Rebel Moon, and there was nothing I could do about it. I had to watch as well, which is a great shame because it's 2 hours and 15 minutes of my life that I'll never get back. I'm not even exaggerating when I say it hurt my eyes, it hurt my brain, and it certainly hurt my bile duct. This movie is a scandalous rip-off. George Lucas sued. He sued Battlestar Galactica, but this film steals much more wholeheartedly from his work than Battlestar Galactica ever did. There has to be a lawsuit about this. Also ought to be the end of Zack Snyder as a movie maker of expensive $100 million, $200 million films. That should be over now. The only good film he ever made was Dawn of the Dead, and you know that it was only good because it was his first movie that he made, and he was told, basically, you'd better step in line and do as you're told, or you'll never work in this town again. So then he did what he was told. He produced a film that's actually quite watchable. In fact, I quite like the Dawn of the Dead film, but I haven't really ever liked anything else he's ever done. And this film really exposes that he is a one-trick pony, and he always has been. The things that you expect from a Zack Snyder movie, that it looks like there's grey acid smeared across the lens, nothing's in focus properly, everything's in slow motion, random points for no real artistic reason. All of that's still present. So if you like those things in your Zack Snyder movie, this movie will deliver for you. However, if you're kind of like, I wish you wouldn't do that quite so much, this movie's going to hurt. So this is the story. Basically, Princess Leia is attacked by the Empire, and she kills them all. But then she decides that because they're going to attack again, and even though she's killed them all, she might need more people. So she's going to recruit more people, one of which needs to be the super duper general guy. Even though in the fullness of time, we'll see that he never does actually do anything. So she takes like the smuggler guy with some dubious morals with her, and they go to a cantina where they meet some people that may or may not know how to meet the resistance. But she doesn't need any of those because she just killed all the Empire anyway, so she could just do that again, surely, but okay. But there's no Death Star plan, so there's no MacGuffins, so there's nothing building towards anything. So what she's going to do is she's just going to hop from place to place, recruit the super fighters that she needs, and along the way, because there's no Death Star to be destroyed, there's no plans to learn how to do anything, there's no reason to progress anything, along the way eventually the bad guys are just going to catch up with them, they'll have a fight, and she'll win because she's already beaten them once before, so why wouldn't she be able to do it again? It makes all her recruiting look rather pointless because none of them actually really contribute very much, apart from somebody has to die, right? So a couple of them get killed off. And everything is very predictable and very dull. It's basically Star Wars if you took out all the stuff that made it good, particularly Luke Skywalker. It starts off with like a little farming village. Everybody's like a cross between, we're the Irish, don't you know, to being, we're the Norse, and a little bit of Amish mixed in. The imagery, you go, this is borrowed from Riddick, it's borrowed from Firefly, it's borrowing from Star Wars. It's just you are stealing wholesale in terms of the imagery, but the story is Star Wars. So into our quiet, peaceful little village comes Christopher Waltz from Inglourious Bastards. Or at least that's what Zack Snyder thought when he wrote it. But what he actually delivered was Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending. And if you know anything about that movie, you know that it was a disaster, a catastrophic bomb. The only good thing I can say about the beginning is that the space Imperials, they land in the village. So it was different from Solo in that regard because, they walked the last mile for some unknown reason. They don't do that here. They actually land in the village. And then there's a robot that turns up, and it's voiced by Anthony Hopkins, but it's done in such a way that you go, did you think that Anthony Daniels and Anthony Hopkins were the same person, or did you just get mixed up because you've just got the wrong one? The choreography of the fight is really quite poor. If you're watching something back and you go, oh, this really doesn't work, this really looks bad, just start cutting bits out of it so that it does work, so that it's at least shorter if it doesn't. Get it over and done with a bit quicker, but it goes on for a long time and it's really quite boring. And then they come to this revelation, you know what? Now we've killed the garrison that they left behind, we're going to have to fight. You're super smart. I'm glad you're here. Genius. Not for the first time we're treated to this sort of imagery. And again, you're left wondering, why have you done this? Why does this in what are we now? Still 2023, I believe. Why does this look so bad when in 1976 they were able to do this and it looked just fine? It really just looks terrible. The set's awful, the CGI is bad, and we have a massive exposition dump. These exposition dumps have to have a point. They have to go somewhere. They have to set something up, and they really don't. They are just like backstory to try and make us care about this character. I don't even know what the character's called, so you can appreciate it didn't work. And after a lengthy exposition dump, she says, I'm only telling you this. And then she says something, whatever. But what I took from it is, I'm only telling you this to help you sleep, because they were bedding down for the night. It's just like, I was dozing when I was watching it. It was that bad. So they decide that they need to recruit some mercenaries to help them fight off the Empire when they come back and discover that their garrison is dead. And then when you get to the cantina scene, which is literally the cantina scene, at what point does George Lucas phone his lawyer and just go, just sue them, I'll have everything they've got? But to be honest, after the money they spent on this and what they're going to make from this, what they've got's not going to be very much, I wouldn't have thought. You even get in the cantina scene, not that he doesn't like you, because that would be 1976. It's more like, oh, I really like you. Let's go upstairs and have some happy times because I like you that much. From there, it moves on to being the Phantom Menace, in that we have a ridiculous bet that nobody in their right mind would ever agree to. They go to this other planet and there's like a griffin. And the guy that owns the griffin says, if this guy that you want to recruit can tame that griffin, I will let him go free. But if he can't, then you're all going to be my slaves. No, we're not going to agree to that. Whatever he brings to the table is not so significant that I'm going to risk enslaving us all. But it's okay because he says he can do it. So why wouldn't you believe him? Because you've known him 30 seconds and he says he can do it. So sure, why not? And of course, he then does it. And I'm reminded of a book by David Gemmell, which the title of which escapes me. But in that book, there's a stallion, like a massive, beautiful horse, the most beautiful horse in all of, I think it's like ancient Greece or something like that. And they're like, who can tame the horse? And people try and fail. And it proves that the horse is unbreakable. Its spirit is such. You've seen people get hurt and like lose limbs and things when the horse has thrown them off and trampled them, and then our hero wanders in and you're like, will he, won't he? What you have in terms of a story is setup. You have demonstration of what the stakes are. You have a hero that you've seen and have some understanding of as a character, and you actually start to like him. And all of that is consistently missing from everything Zack Snyder does, but particularly here, in that this guy literally is in the film 30 seconds. There's no reason to believe that he can do what he says, but of course, by the same token, there's no reason to not. So when he says, I can do it, you go, sure. And then you simply don't care when he does. But we have this idea that this guy who's going to do this is going to be one of our plucky band of heroes, right? But we know that if he breaks that animal, he then has to turn it over to what is effectively a villain, betray it, basically. Does that make a good guy, or does it make him look like a bad guy? Well, it makes him look like a bad guy, right? Except, of course, it doesn't, because the animal then kills the bad guy when he tries to ride it. What does that say about our good guys? That they stand and watch that and they could do something about it. Just like a guy's just been killed. He did nothing. He didn't have to die. And that is a consistent pattern because these guys are going to hop from planet to planet, recruiting various people, and none of it is of any interest and none of it has any worthwhile story. It is simply time filling. If you compare it to Star Wars, which is inevitable given that it steals so freely from it, George Lucas knew about keeping it simple, stupid. We're introduced to Luke, and then he comes into contact with Ben, and then he comes into contact with Han. This takes place over about half an hour, at the same point at which the actual plot is moving along. Whereas here it's just like, there's nothing really else going on. They're just going from place to place recruiting people, and there's far too many of them. And I'm sure that, having already mentioned Firefly, somebody will bring that up, but Firefly was a TV show and it lasted for about 9 hours, whereas this film lasts for about 2. So it's just really, really rushed. You don't get inside any of these characters' minds. You don't get to learn anything about them. You know nothing about them, so much so that when they die or betray their friends or whatever else the plot requires them to do, you're like, so what? I don't care about any of them. So the next one they recruit is like an Asian lady who happens to be good with swords, and you just go, okay, at what point does a cliche become a racial stereotype? The choreography of this fight is dreadful, so much so that when you've got like slow motion of it, it exposes even more how clunky and awkward it is and how it's just really not done very well. Not only that, but it's staggeringly unoriginal to see her slide on her knees underneath the thing while cutting it open. It's like, how many times have we seen that now? Have you not got anything original to offer? The other thing that's interesting in that everybody just sort of stands there and watches this lady duel with the Spider-Woman is that they have guns. Why are they standing there watching? Are you coming here to help or not? And then we've got, again, a break for more exposition. And every time there's one of these breaks for exposition, it's just like we're going to sit down opposite each other and I'm going to dump information at you. And my overriding thought was actually, this time, it feels a lot like Jack and Ori, which was a child's TV show in the UK in the 80s and 90s, where they'd just sit down and tell stories to the camera. And it's just like, are you really stealing from Jack and Ori now? But again, it's just really, really boring. It just goes on for far, far, far too long. From there, we go to the planet where there's a Colosseum. So it's like, oh, it's like ancient Rome. And yeah, it's like ancient Rome because we've got to steal that guy from Gladiator, who, again, does sod all in this movie. But he's apparently a great general that they really need. He's got a massive bounty on his head. But he does nothing in this film. He's really treated badly. And it really feels a lot like Finn in Star Wars, like we've got this guy because he's black, but we don't know what to do with him. So we'll give him nothing to do. It's insulting. And then we go to this place, which I was having real vibes from when I used to play Star Wars The Old Republic. This the similar level of graphics to like a 10-year-old computer game. It's dreadful. Where did the money go? Hopefully to George Lucas. So once they've recruited these 3 or 4 guys, they decide that they'll go to this planet to meet these people who are going to introduce them to the Resistance. Couldn't just, have gone to the Resistance. You've got to have even more complicated, even more people, to have hundreds of people in this film. So you're like, who are any of them? This is why there was 4 people in Star Wars. Because then you've got time to actually make them characters. Actually give them something to do to make them interesting. When you've got 30, it's tedious. So the rebels turn up, and there's literally no reason for them to care about this one village on this distant planet. Why would they care? It's a tiny village. You see in the film, there's nothing there. They've got no reason to care, but apparently they do. And then there's this bit that's a bit like Spartacus or maybe the 13th Warrior. It's like, well, who's with me? And then like one person goes, yeah, go on then, I will be. And then a handful of nobodies that you've never seen before step forward and go, you're all going to die. You're going to die because you're the cannon fodder, because you've got no introduction at all. You just go and step forward when the other one does. Like, okay, great, because somebody's got to die in the finale, right? The thing with the 13th Warrior was it was one king who had basically a village. It wasn't the whole universe. And when they went to the Vikings and they said, we need some of you guys to help us out, they didn't all go. There was just like, some of us will go. But on this, it's just like, oh yeah, we're going to stop the whole universe for this tiny little village on this backward planet just because they happen to be farmers. And it's just, stop, this is stupid. Then they're betrayed by one of their own members, and they're all put in these like chair things that sort of freeze them upright like this, except one dude who's not. And you're like, okay. So I wonder who it will be that helps them break out. All right, yeah, that takes a genius to work out. So what is the IQ of the average person that this movie's aimed at? Is it lower than a houseplant's? So there's this big long speech and chat, and you're supposed to believe that he's going to like execute the lead character, but it's so obvious that they're not. It's like being hit in the face with a sledgehammer, how obvious it is. Just make this stop. And then obviously he releases them. And then the gun turret on the side of the ship turns around and starts shooting down at them on this loading bay. And a guy jumps through the window and like smashes the gun operator, stabs him with a piece of scaffolding. And then the whole ship goes out of control and crashes. That whole ship, the ship the size of a Star Destroyer, is being controlled by that one guy in the gun turret. Who designed a ship like that? Then Sophia Boutell's character starts fighting with the Eddie Redmayne lookalike and hits him, and there was another genuine laugh out loud moment, and you hope it was on. I'm supposed to laugh at it because she hits him in the face and his teeth, like in slow motion, roll across this platform and fall into space, and just, God's sake, what am I watching here? But it is quite funny. And the guy dies, and the girl that stepped forward to go, I'll come with you in the Spartacus moment, is like, no! But I don't care about their relationship at all, because they've been on screen together for fully 30 seconds and shared 2 lines of dialogue that went along the lines of, I thought you'd step forward, didn't want to disappoint you. Naturally, they win the battle, they destroyed the ship, they all go back home to their sleepy little village, which makes no sense either, because some of them weren't from there. Some of them are only coming to fight to protect that, but they don't need to do that now. They've done that. So why do they go to the village? And then they, instead of landing in the village like the guys did at the start, they do the solo thing where they park miles away and then they have to ride horses to get back to the village. Why did you not just land in it? The other guys landed in it. Our big finale is that Eddie Redmayne's character, I genuinely don't know who plays him in this film or what his name is in it. He is brought back to life by the big bad in order to do more of what he was just doing. Look again at Star Wars, right? Darth Vader throughout Star Wars was competent. In the finale, he was not defeated by the hero. Like, Luke didn't turn around, blast him, and then go back and shoot the exhaust pot. And if he had done that, if he had defeated Darth Vader, then Darth Vader would not be a threat in films 2 and 3, because you've already seen him defeated. We've already seen Eddie Redmayne defeated in this film over and over and over again. So the idea that he's coming back, that this final image of the film is somehow like, oh my God, he's coming back. How will anyone survive? Well, they'll simply kill him like they just did. He's incompetent and useless throughout this entire movie. Why would anybody be worried about him coming back for more? Why would anyone send him back to more and expect a different outcome to what they already had? There's a line as well where they're not sure if he's alive or dead, the robots or cyborgs that are trying to sort of bring him back to life. And they go, we've got no heartbeat and no brain function. And I was kind of like, he didn't have much of either before he died. He was that useless. But overall, you have to just go, if you think that this guy coming back is the big bad, the big threat, an appropriate ending for your movie, then you have misjudged everything in your movie to this point. Everything in your movie was misjudged by you. You haven't got anything right at all. Your hero is so overpowered they have literally nothing to fear on their own from the entire Empire, let alone just from Eddie Redmayne. And then she's got all these other people that have contributed nothing, because why would they when she's so perfectly capable of doing it all on her own? This movie looks bad. It doesn't sound good. It steals from literally every other science fiction movie ever made. Its story is so close to Star Wars for about the first half of it, and then handles that so badly. You go, did you ask an AI to summarize the plot of Star Wars, and then you just redid it? Because to get Star Wars and copy it so badly, even J.J. Abrams could do it reasonably well with The Force Awakens. To do it so badly, you must never have seen it. You must never have seen it. You have no understanding about what made it work or didn't. You've just seen various imagery and sort of have some idea of the story beats, and you've gone, I'll just copy those, and that will be enough to make a movie as good as Star Wars. It won't. It's terrible. And you can tell that it's really, really bad because Star Wars, Lucasfilm, the people that made Solo, that made Rogue One, that made The Last Jedi, that made The Rise of Skywalker, which was the biggest joke of them all, they rejected your script. And you went, well, I'll make it myself anyway. Sometimes you have to listen to that other opinion. And although I don't have an awful lot of respect for any opinions coming out of Lucasfilm, they got this one right, because this has no value. It is simply derivative, and insultingly so. It's not like a homage. A homage is at least respectful. It's just theft. And the only suitable outcome to this actually would be a massive, massive lawsuit. And I hope that we get one. It would be at least entertaining to watch, which is more than can be said for this movie. Next time I'm going to have more willpower, and I'm going to resist. But the fact is that I grew up watching Star Wars. It undeniably was a huge part of my childhood. I absolutely loved it. And you kind of go, well, what is there for kids now to love with that same level of passion? Maybe it's just not the movies anymore. Because we've had Marvel. It was Marvel for years, but those movies are not making money this year. If you were the biggest Snyder bro in the whole world, it's just like, I absolutely love Zack Snyder. Well, surely once you've seen, I don't know, Sucker Punch, and then you've seen like the first Batman versus Superman, or whatever the other one, the Superman movie that he made was. Surely once you've seen those, you've seen all of the things that you want to see. The tricks that there are, like the 80s song remixed to be sort of slightly more epic sounding. There's the slow motion. There's the fact that everything looks grey and sludgy and sometimes is out of focus. What am I coming for? There has to be a story, something, or a character, something amazing. And this has nothing. It's simply a massive dump of cash and a waste of everybody's time. Look how terrible that looks. This is a professionally made movie. If this was fan fiction, I would expect it to be better.